Hi to the 5 subscribers that actually came back. I did change my name, but I promise you I'm still the same person. Yeah, I sort of had to get a video out before my upload schedule was starting to look like Corey Kenshin's. That's completely on my fault. I did sort of say that since it's summer I was going to be putting out more videos, but it's kind of fact and cap at the same time, because on the other hand, I'm just so incredibly lazy that I cannot even get myself to come out of my room, and on the other hand, I'm busy, which the busy part is probably like 0.05% of the summer, but I was just at an overnight camp, and every night back from that I did sort of feel hungover. Anyways, to the YouTube moderator that's watching this, hey handsome, that was a joke. There was no alcohol there, no underage drinking. Don't claim the video. And also, I'm gonna try to keep this video as short as possible. I'm not gonna spend so much time talking about movies that I don't really know what to say about, because then I'm just gonna ramble and then I look like an unprofessional. Yeah, I'm saying that like I am a professional. Easily coming in last place for me is actually going to be Brave. Now, obviously, from the get-go, this is one of the Pixar films that does not have any sort of deeper meaning, because, like, all of them sort of have something like a display for the kids, and then when you go into the film slowly unveils the meaning that it was trying to portray, the deeper message for everyone. But I always felt like this one never really had anything like that. And the film is also incredibly dark. And not just like dark in tone, but like the lighting in this film is terrible. In the third act of the film, it's nighttime, it's raining, they're chasing after a black bear, Brave is riding on a black horse, everybody is wearing black clothing. I mean, who put this together? But I mean, overall, it's a very bland film. It's very forgettable, the characters aren't likable very much in my opinion. Overall, yeah, Brave is the worst Pixar movie. Next up is gonna be The Good Dinosaur. This is another one that I feel like really tried so hard to want to work, but it just didn't. This is another one that I feel like doesn't really have a deeper message. I mean, it does the thing that it just pulls the classic Pixar move. It pulls the classic, hey, we got a script here for The Good Dinosaur. What do you think the movie should be on? It's like, oh, let's just do friendship because we don't have any other ideas. But, I mean, we've already seen the friendship story a million other times in Monsters, Inc., in Cars, in Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, Onward, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Luca. And if you would rather watch The Good Dinosaur than any of these, I genuinely question your mental health. Yeah, and also wow. Okay, I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore because of what I just messed up. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this is the only Pixar film on this list that I actually hate. The only reason I have it above Brave and The Good Dinosaur is because I don't want my skull to get caved in the instant I step out of my house. Inside Out it just never worked for me. Now, before I say why I hate this film so much, I will say it is a very well-made film. It's just not for me. And the reason for that is I can't even sit through this movie. I feel like all the characters are incredibly annoying and generic and not funny at all. I mean, with Anger, they got the classic curse word joke because they really couldn't pull anything more classic than that, so they just decided to go with curse word stereotypes because that's funny, I guess. Joy is about as funny as Amy Schumer. Sadness is a bootleg Billie Eilish. Disgust is disgusting. And the purple guy, I don't even know. He's not funny at all. And then we got the elephant. I don't even remember this guy's name. I'm just gonna call him Bozo for now. He was also pretty annoying. And his death scene. Okay, I should probably stop talking about this movie before I piss off some of you Pixar stans. Next up is going to be Cars 3. This is another one that is just a complete mess. I feel like it tried to tackle way too many things, and at the same time, it just felt like a Rocky remake. This don't look familiar to you? I mean, come on. They're not even trying to hide it. They have a guy that's old. He wants to stop. Everybody wants him to stop fighting or racing, but he's like, oh no, I'll stop when I want to stop. The generic line that they copied from Rocky. This movie's a mess. So, and the other thing I want to take some time to talk about is the finale, because what in the world? So the thing that basically happens is they have the black car racing Lightning McQueen. I don't even remember what the Jackson Storm, something like that. So Lightning McQueen decides to stop racing, and then the yellow car goes in and then somehow beats the Jackson guy, even though the yellow car has not had a nanosecond of racing experience in her life. I don't know. Women good, men bad. That's what they were trying to say. Next film. So I kind of did forget that this was a Pixar movie. I haven't seen it in ages, so like next up is gonna be Monsters University. I'd say from this film up is a film that I could enjoy and just put on while doing something in the background because it's just fun noise to have in the back. And kicking off that list is gonna be Monsters University. I have a lot of flaws with this film. I don't think it's funny at all. This is probably the unfunniest movie in all of Pixar, in my opinion. I just don't know. I just feel like everything was super duper childish and it just didn't work for me. But on the other hand, it's just a fun turn your brain off film, and my brain has been off for the past few weeks, so I mean, it's just a fun film to put on. It's nice to see an origin of how Mike and Sully became friends and how they got their job at the Monsters Incorporated. But yeah, nothing really special. Let's move on to the next film. Coming in at number 18 is going to be Finding Dory, another one that I don't really have anything special about, but all y'all talking about Baby Yoda when Baby Dory is the GOAT. Let's move on to the next film. Next up is going to be Cars 2. This is another one of my controversial picks. Cars 2 is probably one of my more controversial picks. I do enjoy this one. I don't think it's like nearly as bad as people say it is. I mean, then again, it's just a fun film. There's nothing really crazy about it. Let's just move on to the next film. Next up is going to be Toy Story 2. I do think that this is the weakest out of all the Toy Story movies. I just never really liked the whole subplot with Woody in the apartment with white EDP. It just never really worked for me. I think when they start to get with Woody in the apartment is when the film starts to get like boring. But then it really does pick up. Like, I really like to see the stuff, like all the stuff in the toy shop or the grocery store or something, and then the airport scene. It's just really good stuff. Honestly, if I do rewatch this soon, it probably will move up on my list. But for now, I'm gonna keep it down here. Kicking off the top 15 is going to be Coco. I definitely think this is one of the better Day of the Dead Mexican films. I think it does a great job with the world building. The animation is incredible. Since there are so many Day of the Dead movies, I definitely think this one stands out for being the most unique. I just think it does a cool way of portraying Day of the Dead, like the whole bridge, like the way they cross into the spirit world and the regular world. I think that was a really cool idea. And the whole subplot of like, if they forget about you, you actually die. I think that was a pretty cool idea for the film. Coming up next is going to be The Incredibles 2. I definitely think this is a solid sequel. I don't know about 13 years though. The film, I think the animation is really good in this. It makes all the characters look a whole lot more crisp. I don't really like the other superheroes in the film. I feel like they were just put in there just for The Incredibles to have someone to fight. And I think the villain was a cool villain until they revealed who it was and made it super obvious. Then again, The Incredibles is probably one of the most original ideas for a film that I've ever seen. And did this film ruin that idea? I don't really think so. It did sort of build on it, but I mean, it could have been better. 13 is going to be Cars. I definitely think this is one of the better films that tackles the friendship story. And I mean, it's just nostalgia. It's just my whole childhood. But yeah, I don't really got anything else to say, really, so let's go on to the next film. Coming Coming in at 12th is going to be Toy Story 4. This is another one that I think is good, but not incredible. I do think that, I just don't know. I guess it's just for me because I thought Toy Story 3 was a perfect ending to the trilogy. But yeah, I get it. Toy Story 3 ended off with Andy's story, but we didn't really get to see the Toy Story side of it. It doesn't matter. It was still a great ending. But Toy Story 4 does still have a good ending. And I think it does a solid job at closing out the whole franchise. And yeah, pretty solid film overall. Alright, coming in at number 11 is going to be Finding Nemo. This one is actually pretty solid. I'm gonna say it again, this is one of the better friendship films, but I sort of got something I gotta say about this movie. Barracudas don't even eat clownfish, but you know what do eat clownfish? Other clownfish. So, yeah, if you're not putting together the dots, I'll just explain it to you. Marlin's wife ate all the eggs, and there was nothing Marlin could do but watch because the female clownfish are actually more powerful and more dominant than the male clownfish, and they tend to eat the eggs just because they feel like it. I mean, heck, if I gave birth and I'm feeling hungry, you ain't gotta tell me the rights. I mean, I carried this clown for 9 months. I should have the rights to eat him if I want to. But anyways, Marlin had to watch his wife squad wipe his whole lineage, and he had to cope, so he faked an egg, and he named it Nemo, and Nemo doesn't mean anything. For the 5 people who don't know, look it up. It means nobody. And that's why he has trust issues, because he just watched the love of his life murder and eat all of his eggs. You're welcome for ruining Finding Nemo. Kicking off the top 10 is actually going to be Luca. This really surprised me. Now, this is probably the film that I'm going to spend probably the most time talking about because it kind of did change my perspective for Pixar. Now, when I first saw the trailers for this film, I'm gonna be completely honest, I thought this was gonna be a stupid idea. Because, honestly, my perspective before was Pixar's audience is growing up and Pixar needs to grow up with it. Because we had just gotten Soul, and that is, like, the most mature film out of all of Pixar. And then we got the Fish Boys. Ugh. So I watched the movie, and I did change my perspective. The film just really has to resonate with me, and this really did resonate with me. Now, I realize Pixar is really good at preaching about childhood. For example, Toy Story focuses on the childhood part of our imagination with our toys and how much of a part they played in our lives. Monsters Inc. is the whole classic monster under the bed story. Cars is just imagination again, and then The Incredibles is just like how everybody loved superheroes as a kid, and Luca is about like legitimate friendship. It has this weird nostalgia feel to it. Like it really feels like a blast from the past if you watch this while growing up, and it makes you remember the stuff that you did when you were younger, the crazy stuff you did outside with your friends, and this film perfectly captures that feeling for me. I guess that's just the magic of Pixar. They can make a deep, mature film that'll make you want to cry yourself to sleep, and then another film that'll just remind you of your childhood, also making you want to cry yourself to sleep. Next up is going to be Onward. This is, in my opinion, probably Pixar's most underrated film. I just really love it. I think it's a fun film. I think the whole idea of, like, everybody was magic before, and then that sort of drifted away, blah, blah, blah. We live in a society, you get it. I mean, it does feel sort of generic in some points, but also the whole world and atmosphere is so original that you sort of do have to forgive it for that. Only thing I really love the ending. I get it. It does upset me at the fact that Ian didn't get to see his dad, even though he was the only one who, like, never saw him. But I really do like the whole idea of him seeing his older brother as a father figure. I could just really see how this film would speak to someone who doesn't have a dad, but always did have another father figure in their life. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Toy Story. This is another one that is just pure nostalgia, and it just blows me away the fact that this came out more than 20 years ago and still holds up strong. Coming Coming in at number 7 is going to be Toy Story 3. This is another one that tackles very, very mature themes, and this one just feels like the darkest Pixar film. I don't know why. I could never put my finger on it, but like as a kid, I was always scared of this one. But growing up now, I'm obviously not. But anyways, this film does a perfect job with what it's given. I can't see any of the other ones trying to tackle a deep story like this, because this one just feels the most mature out of all the 4. And ooh, bars. But anyways, yeah, I'm really glad at the way this one ended, and I do think that it should have been the last one, but I'm not upset that they made Toy Story 4. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Monsters, Inc., another one that's just incredibly original, and it just blows me away that they're able to think of stuff like this. This one is just an incredibly fun time, a great story, great characters, and a great time. Did I say that already? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Let's go on to the next film. Alright, kicking off the top 5 is going to be The Incredibles. This is another one that I cannot believe how original this idea was. I think it does an incredible job at humanizing the heroes. Like, the whole political view of it, I think, was a really, really cool idea. Syndrome is kind of a generic villain, but I mean, this came out like before that whole plot line was sort of generic. So I mean, I can't really flaw it for that. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Up. The first 20 minutes of this movie. Dang, dude. I love that the film was able to like tell a story and develop these characters in such a short amount of time, and with little to no dialogue. Yeah, I definitely think Pete Docter is probably the best director working for Pixar right now, and I cannot wait to see what this guy does next. Coming in 3rd place is actually going to be Soul. Wow, that's really all I can say about this film after I watched it, because I couldn't even process what I just watched. I just think the whole idea of like exploring what you want to be remembered for before you die, what stuff you want to accomplish in life, was such a mature theme for a Pixar movie, and that's what made me realize that, yeah, they're starting to grow up. This is the stuff that I want to see from Pixar. Alright, now when we get to the 1 and 2 spot, I will say that these are very interchangeable. At the time recording this, my number 1 is my number 1, but at the time when I'm done with this, my number 2 could be my number 1, and my number 1 be my number 2. I am probably not making any sense right now. I'm just going to talk about the movie. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Ratatouille. This is incredible. Ratatouille is just such a great time. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's legit about a mouse that controls a guy by pulling on his hair. Masterpiece. Alright, now coming in at number 1 is going to be WALL-E. This is another one that's just pure nostalgia, and I love this film so much because it's another one where I feel like Pixar was really taking a leap. I feel like all the other Pixar movies that had came out before WALL-E had sort of been like these fast-paced adventure movies with like loaded with dialogue and humor and all that. And WALL-E is a slower paced, like, show don't tell type of film, and I think that it really, really works. I feel like the film would have been really weird if like WALL-E actually talked a lot. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's not just me, but I'm just saying it would have been really weird if WALL-E like talked. This is another one that I just think is another really original idea, and I think it's just, I mean, it's one of the only Pixar movies that's like a romance type film. I don't really know if I should be calling it romance, but that's just how I see it, and I just love this film. But yeah, that's my Pixar ranking. I really hope I didn't give anybody an aneurysm or make any veins pop, and if I did, I apologize. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your guys' rankings in the comments down below, so go ahead and comment them down. I'm probably just going to heart them and not read them, but I mean, I'm definitely going to read them and then heart them, because I definitely do that. But anyways, guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
it before and I'll say it